are now tuned in to my main man Dubs. If you want that garbage, go somewhere else. If you want that music that matters, he came to the right spot. Hey Dub, talk to him.
This is not for the weak-hearted. Ever since the beat started, the flow switched up from...
So obviously Anthony Joshua loses titles to Andy Ruiz. Do you think they'll be massively regretting the fact they didn't make that Deontay Wilder fight then when they were both unbeaten and now they've got to go into a rematch with Andy Ruiz? I don't know, because I read, well, before the fight I read where Joshua went out and said it took me 7 rounds to knock out Brazil, and if Deontay takes 8 it shows who was the better fighter. And then Deontay destroyed him and won, and after that Joshua said publicly, he said, I am just shocked how he did it, and it played on him. So I don't know if he really wanted to, because we offered $50 million and he didn't take it. Yeah, he did admit
Wow. Those are the words of Shelly Finkle. Now, before this video gets too far along, let me do some counterpunching. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News. And I guess I talked Shelly Finkle up because no one has heard from Shelly Finkle in a long time. Now he just resurfaced with the same old doctrine. And he had some things that I want to talk to you guys about. He mentioned Anthony Joshua and what Anthony Joshua said about Dominique Brazil. It took him 7 rounds to knock out Dominique Brazil. And if it takes Deontay Wilder longer, we'll see who's the better fighter. Well, Deontay went out there and knocked him out in 1 round. So, according to Shelly Finkle, he said that played on Joshua's mind. And he doesn't really think that Joshua wanted to take the fight anyway because they offered him $50 million. Now, it's funny how one side, which is Team Wilder's side, you know, with Shelly Finkle and Al Heyman and friends. And it's funny how they bring up $50 million as though they weren't counter-offered the same amount, but then +2. But then commendated for the Dominique Brazil fight. He knocked him out in 1 round. So you have to look at, if that was $20 million, $20 million for 1 round, that's a $20 million round that he could have made from Dominique Brazil. And the next 2 fights would have been his journey towards undisputed. He didn't want it. And people pretend like there wasn't, people pretend like the $50 million is just the whole deal and no other counter offers. Now, it's weird how Shelly Finkle will come up with $50 million and bring up $50 million, but they're so eager or so quick to turn down $100 million for 2 fights. That was they use $50 million as though $50 million is a magic number. $50 million is the number that Anthony Joshua mentioned. So if it was good enough to come out of Anthony Joshua's mouth, why isn't it good enough for Deontay Wilder to accept the $50 million? See, they talk $50 million like $50 million is a huge amount of money. Yes, it is it's a big amount of money. It is, you know, but as when you're talking about $50 million, you guys, well, we offered him $50 million. Well, so did Deontay. He was offered $50 million. Now, how can your fighter and you turn down that deal and then turn around and get mad at Joshua for turning down a deal for 1 fight? And this 1 fight had shadiness written all over it. Say you agree to terms first before we send the contract. There was no contract that was never sent. Now, the proof of funds, look, the contract shows that. So if you're just listening to a person say, hey, you know, sign this, agree to these, agree that you are agreed to terms, then we'll send you the contract by email. Why the hell would you do that without even seeing the terms of the deal? Only an idiot or someone very inexperienced would do that. They've never done that with any other fighter. Why would they decide to do that with Anthony Joshua and his team with Eddie Hearn? Do you see how that's just incomplete that is? When they offer a guy that amount of money, but then there's nothing backing it whatsoever, no contract. It looks like if you were serious about a $50 million offer, you would want to send over the terms and agreements of that. Now, supposedly a year later, Steven Espinosa says, oh, well, yeah, I did see the contract. You're a executive from Showtime. What the hell do you know about $50 million? Why would you know about $50 million? You know, like a lot of this stuff doesn't even make sense. That's like someone from Sky saying, yeah, I was there and I can prove to you that they had the $50 million. But then they get offered $100 million for 2 fights, which is $50 million per fight, plus the $20 million for Dominic Brazil, and they want to know what Anthony Joshua was getting. Now, if Anthony Joshua would have asked that, and he did agree to it, Joshua was like, let's roll, right? Eddie Hearn was like, send me the terms. We're interested, send me the terms. And they didn't want to send the terms. You'd think if a person was serious about an offer, they would send the terms of the $50 million, which they did not do. So they severed their own business offer. Who the fuck does that? Let me see what else he has to say.
To the fight that Deontay's knockout of Brazil was in his mind, and that's why he really tried to finish Andy.
Yeah, he said that, but didn't matter. You know, if you're a champion and you're mentally strong, you got to be able to put that behind you.
Now, a lot's got to happen for this scenario. Scared everyone. Yeah, a lot's got to happen for this scenario to happen. Just say Wilder comes through against Ortiz, beats Fury, and Joshua gets his belts back, defends his belt against his mandatory Pulev. Do you think they will make that undisputed fight?
You know, that'll be on their side, but I don't want to think that far in the future. That's a year away.
Okay. Appreciate that, Shelly, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, Shelly Finkle didn't want to think that far ahead. If Joshua gets his belts back, he says that's a year away. Why is that a year away? That's not a year away. Says who? When is that a year away? Okay, Joshua Ruiz fights December 7th. Then if Deontay beats Ortiz again, he fights Fury in February the 22nd. So how the hell is that a year away? Maybe Shelly Finkle, okay, to give him a benefit of the doubt, maybe Shelly Finkle meant that's next year. But that's a year away. No, you can't confuse that. No, I can't give Shelly that. Shelly has common sense. He knows what the hell he's talking about. He doesn't want to talk about that. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. That's on their side. How is that on their side? It takes two to tango, right? See, what I don't understand is when it comes to trying to make an offer or a deal with Shelly Finkle, he either blows it off, like he just done in this interview. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. That's a year away. How the fuck is it a year away? Right? He ignores the question, blows it off, but then, and with his defense, he says, oh, well, he turned down $50 million. And the interviewer is like, well, okay, well, what about the $100 million that they turned down? What about the 50 twice, 50 times 2 that Deontay Wilder turned down? And then see, here's the problem with this fight. Nobody knows what Deontay Wilder's making. You know, that's another shady thing, too, that they started this year. They started that shit this year with all the secrecy and, you know, I don't like nobody counting my pockets, but you were trying to count Anthony Joshua's pockets, wondering what he was going to get in that contract. But then yet you signed back with Showtime, the same Showtime that didn't even host your fight. They didn't even pick up your fight. Fox had to pick up Showtime's lightweight. Showtime declined the offer The same Steven Espinosa that defended, supposedly was on Deontay's side, showed him, no, I'm not, and we're not. That doesn't make sense for Showtime. So you have to go to Fox. Fox picks it up. Therefore, it's on Fox pay-per-view. Then all of a sudden, Deontay Wilder's supposed to be doing so well, but then he can't even tell his fight purse. Do you see how easy it was for $85 million to be displayed on Team Joshua? 13 million Ruiz. Those are legitimate purses. Why? Because no one is trying to hide the amount of money or trying to cover it up and keep it a secret. Nobody's caring about that. But for Wilder's team, they can't say shit. You know? Now Ortiz is they say he's making $7 million, which I hope he is. But then again, okay, what's the elephant of the room? Well, what the hell is Deontay getting? And see, people want to know that because people are still putting together the pieces. Like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. You could have made more money fighting Joshua than Ortiz again. You see what I'm saying? They choose this guy, so it's hard for me to believe that Shelly Finkle, like he said, that Deontay wants to fight the best. If he wanted to fight the best, they would have got his ass in the ring with Anthony Joshua, and they would have done that before Tyson Fury. They thought Tyson Fury was a pushover. That's why they took the fight. They didn't want to fight Joshua because there was many opportunities to make that fight. They bring up $50 million, which that shit was well over a year ago now, but they bring it up at their defense, and that's their only defense. We offered him $50 million with no contract or anything else supporting the $50 million. So that created skepticism. And that's what happened, you know? And it's sad that Shelly Finkel's going to take this $50 million bullshit into the grave because he's already an older man. I don't wish nothing bad on Shelly Finkel, but it's just like if you keep preaching the same shit and regurgitating the same narratives, maybe I guess one day you'll start to believe that shit. But believe this, Shelly Finkel. You and your guy turned down Anthony Joshua. You avoided Klitschko. And you used Tyson Fury as a sacrificial lamb, and that shit didn't work. That is what it is, okay? So you guys tell me what you think about the return of Shelly Finkel. You know, Peaky in the Brain in the full effect. Okay, guys, please subscribe. Tell me what you think, and you guys been counterpunched. Peace.